I want to start today with an old Jewish parable. This old guy saw someone walking through the desert, and he invited the traveler into his home to have a meal and to spend the night. And of course, the traveling fella eagerly accepted the hospitality. However, as the old man was preparing the meal, he learned that this other fella had opposing views on religion and politics. And the old man asked the fella to leave without giving him so much as a piece of bread to eat. That night, the old man's wife came and asked him, "Why did you treat your guest so poorly and send him away?" And the old man replied, "Because he opposed my views on God and politics." And the old wife said, "Oh, my dear husband, I have put up with your differences in opinion for 80 years. Surely you could have endured him for one night." Last few weeks, we have looked at what the minor prophet Micah says to some major issues in our lives today. And given the current environment, I think it is a message we need to listen to. We have heard Micah admonish us to have courage, to not be afraid. He has admonished us to do what God requires of us, to have a relationship with God. And how does that flesh out? 3 ways: to do justice, to open our hearts to the other, to stand for the powerless. And today, we're wrestling with that second one, to love kindness. Now, before you think, "Oh, it's another sappy sermon about love," I want you to get this loud and clear. Although this seems the easiest, and it sounds simple enough, there is so much in this one little phrase. In Hebrew, kindness is hesed. Hesed, which is considered the key element of all relationships. It's a mix of love and loyalty and faithfulness, all wrapped up in this word, hesed, kindness. It is the very thing we must own and nourish. We must carry, we must uphold it in our marriages, in our friendships, in our relationship with God. To love kindness, to show hesed, means we don't have relationships out of duty or fear, but they're rooted in this deep mix of faithfulness and loyalty and go to the finish line with someone kind of love. So then, the text not only tells us we need to show hesed, but we are to love hesed, love kindness. I mean, we need to love doing this deep loving. We need to revel in it. We need to find the very heart of God in how we love one another. There's no room for halfwayness here. We are to love doing this deep loving. So this isn't anything shallow. And that's S-H-A-L-L-A, shallow. This is not being nice and sweet. This is not Hallmark. This is we love being that type of love in the world. So often, and I hear it all the time, we think of love as weak, soft. But if we really, really pile it up, it takes so much more strength, so much more work to stick with somebody, to stick around, to keep being loving even when the other person is not so much. Do I hear some nods of heads here? Oh, yeah. I know you people. None of us are lovable all the time. It's just not happening. But it's those when you stick with them in spite of themselves. That's Hesed. That's loving kindness. To keep loving when the light at the end of the tunnel might be a train coming right at you. To keep going. I think that's why in the United Church of Christ, in the congregational system, we rely so much on covenant. We covenant to be a church. We don't covenant to always agree. I tell people as they come and say, well, what's your church about? I said, you got to ask every person. We don't have a big old book we throw at people. We don't have doctrine that we demand. We have freedom of belief and the responsibility to figure it out. And then we covenant to stick together, to see whatever is ahead of us, to see it through together, to love God and each other in spite of ourselves most days, to keep on in spite of any and everything. A week or so ago, we had our dinner church downstairs. It was lovely. We made little toppings for taco bars, and then we had a Sunday bar, which I particularly liked. And as we sat around the tables, there were 4 religious traditions there: Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and Muslim, plus one who questions everything. But we ate together. We cleaned up the kitchen together. We reflected on Psalm 139 together. We shared together. We did it with respect. We showed kindness. I saw the future of spirituality right there in our hall. All of us prescribing and being dug deep into our own traditions, but we shared life rather than killing each other in the name of our God. Kindness. As United Congregational Church lives into its 322nd year, what binds us together today? Is it just that we're the old pilgrims? I mean, they've been gone a while, although their bones are still downstairs. I know it's creepy, but we like keeping old things. Sure, we're one of the few urban churches still around Bridgeport. Yes, and we love that we are racially, economically, and ethnically diverse. We take everybody. Isn't that marvelous? Look around. There ain't only one of you, one type of you here. So much diversity. Yes, we provide food for our neighborhood. We are community anchor. We feed thousands each year. Why do we do this? Do we do it to make ourselves feel good? I hope not. Do we love being loving? Do we specialize in being loving? Are we going deep with our neighbors? Are we going deep with each other that we're going to stick together through it all? That's what I want this church to be known for. That we love in spite of it. And as we enter this change of seasons, what change is happening in you? Are you different from all the messages we hear in the world? Is your life a beacon of anything different from the me first or whatever, or you're different so you're less than? Does your life show kindness? Do people know love because they know you? Do people know love because they know you and me? That is our job here, people, is to love kindness, to love it so much that we live it every day. We should just revel in showing love. We should try to outdo each other in showing love. We need to face the world with our hands open rather than our fists closed. There is enough of this. Oh, but we love our resentments, don't we? We hold on to our bitterness. Ugh. You can just taste it, can't you? Sort of lick your chops. But when we hang on to that nastiness, the one we feed on at that feast is our very souls. And sometimes we squeeze that anger so hard, it squirts out on people who didn't deserve it. We've all done that, haven't we? Just think how different our world could be if we'd spent all that energy that we spend on holding on to the hurts, on showing the kindness. If we let them go, open our hands, how would our lives be different? How would your life be different if you lived like this rather than this? How would your family, your marriage, your friendships, our church be different? What does the Lord require of you? Do justice. Stand up. And to love kindness. To live with loyalty and faithfulness. We got enough bullying. We have enough violence. We got enough meanness. Narcissism and negativity. We got enough of that. Today, as we gather around that table, it is supposed to mean something. That 2.2 billion people in the world prescribe to this type of love. It ought to make a difference if all those people, the majority of the world, lived what they profess. How would it be different? We would be different. Remember in the 70s, dear old Dionne Warwick, before she kind of went Lulu on us. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, for everyone. But this is how the Apostle Paul put it 2,000 years ago. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut. Doesn't have a swelled head. It doesn't force itself on others. Love isn't always me first. Love doesn't fly off the handle. Love doesn't keep score. Love takes pleasure when truth wins. Love puts up with stuff. Love trusts God. Love always looks for the best even when you have to dig for it. Love doesn't look back over your shoulder and keep score. Love keeps going with you to the end. Wow. Wow. There was a young woman who was waiting in the airport because her flight was getting ready to send her home. But there was a delay, so like most of us, she has to go get a snack. Isn't it convenient? They put those little snacks everywhere in the airport, the things we don't need. So she got a little bag of those chocolate chip cookies. Those are just so good, like Famous Amos. Oh, I just love those. And so she thought, well, I'll just read my book. And so she went to that fancy VIP lounge, and she was sitting and relaxing. She sat down in an armchair to enjoy her book and her cookies. Beside her sat this young man. He was reading a book as well. These are books. I don't know if some of you, they're books and they have pages, and you turn them. Okay, no, the college kids have no idea what I'm talking about. And there's the bag of cookies was between them. Neither one of them spoke, which is kind of sad to me, but they didn't. The young lady took her first cookie, and much to her surprise, the young man took one too. He didn't say anything. She didn't say anything, but she was clearly agitated. For every time she took a cookie, he took a cookie. They didn't look. They didn't say anything, but she got more and more agitated. Her anger grew. And it lasted until there was one cookie in that little bag left. And the man reached in, took it, broke it in half, and left her half in the bag. That was it. She was so infuriated and bothered by his lack of consideration for her cookies, she packed up her things and she went back into the regular seats with the rest of regular people. She boarded her flight, she took her seat, she settled in, she got her neck pillow. She was very upset by this young man's lack of manners. How dare he eat her cookies? She went into her purse for a cough drop, and there was her bag of cookies. Unopened, untouched. She was so ashamed how she had responded, and she realized it was too late to fix it. That young man had shared his cookies without saying a word. He even gave her the last half of the last one. He didn't get worried or angry that she took his. He gave without condition, without bitterness. He gave with kindness. Today, we celebrate World Communion Sunday. People all over the world would gather at all different types of tables to represent God's wide table of love. No one has a better seat. No one earns their way. We are all there by God's unconditional love. And there are cookies enough for all of us. God made them. They're extra special, lots heavy on the chocolate, and there's plenty. But you know what? We will be surprised who we meet there. Some are there because they know exactly the right theology of the communion table, whatever that means. Some are there because they're lonely. Someone is there because someone drugged them. Others are there because they got nothing else better to do. But we are all there because we are hungry for something more, hungry for something deeper, hungry for something richer in our lives. What did that song the choir sing? My love will never fail you, I promise. Around our table that we celebrate in God's name today, old wounds can be healed. Hardships can be forgotten for a while. Grace is always abundant. And there's plenty of love, plenty of cookies for everyone, even you. Thanks be to God.